Pieces of Her is inspired by the retired badass genre that has been made famous over the years. Instead of focusing on the mysterious person with a dark and violent history, the show shifts its gaze to her daughter. With an amazing cast, Pieces of Her seems like a must-watch. However, some fans have noted that one particular character consistently manages to do things that ruin the entire show for them. Let's find out who that is. First up, Netflix fans express irritation over Pieces of Her character. Or maybe some of these new series just feature naive characters as the main leads now. Either way, fans have been closely following Pieces of Her, but a lot of them have major complaint with Andy, played by Bella Heathcote, who we would like to add should not shoulder any direct blame for her character's good-for-nothing existence. Based on the 2018 novel, Pieces of Her follows a young woman who discovers dark and gory secrets about her mother's past. It sure sounds very interesting, and in fact, the show is full of twists and turns that'll keep you at the edge of your seat. But there are times where you really do wonder how a grown woman of Andy's age could make so many stupid decisions in her attempt to be a past-digging detective. And now, where it all began. The crux of the entire story of Pieces of Her is that Andy comes across a rather dark secret of her mother's life. She learns that she and her mother are part of a witness protection program when a chain of unforeseen events is triggered after Laura disarms a gunman inside of a cafe in a rather amazing fashion. It's natural that a kid will want to show more about her mother's apparently heroic side, especially after she's seen in her single-handedly take down a shooter, all while there's a knife impaling her hand. Laura knows things are about to get messy after the incident ends up being broadcasted pretty much everywhere on the news, so she very clearly instructs Andy to leave town and not come back until everything is in control and safe. Up next, Andy never fails to disappoint. It should have been simple enough, and if Andy had just listened to her mother, there wouldn't be much of a show. Unfortunately, Andy decides instead to look into her mother's past so that she can figure out what she's running from. Right from the start, it didn't go well. In fact, as Andy begins to investigate, she for some reason runs towards the very people who want her mother dead. But wait, there's more. Despite the fact that she's carrying a huge suitcase of money and knows that her life is in danger, Andy decides to trust nearly every person she comes across except her own mother. This includes a random stranger she meets in a bar who she immediately asks to give her shooting lessons. What you also need to understand is that those who watch will probably spend much of their time sighing loudly, rolling their eyes, and saying things like, "Are you kidding me? Has she ever made a good decision in her entire life? Also, why did she flash stacks of cash to a used car salesman while she was trying to negotiate price on a car?" Andy is beyond annoying, all the more so because her stupidity repeatedly blows up her mom's plans. Laura is hardly given any time to act because she spends much of the series reacting to her daughter's mistakes. Andy's stupidity not only further endangers her mom's life, but gets the few people Andy can actually trust killed in their attempts to save her from her own stupidity. And now, even the rest of the cast couldn't save the show. Toni Collette is a divine being with whom we are all blessed to share time on the same planet, but even she can't save one of television history's most worthless characters. Andy is the worst kind of character because her mistakes propel the plot of an entire 8-hour series. It's not that she makes one blunder that sets the story in motion. When faced with a decision, any decision, she always makes the wrong choice. And nearly every action in this series is motivated by a need to save her from her own silly mistakes. What fans have said about Andy's character? Fans, of course, had a lot to say, and as per millennial code of conduct, they headed over to Twitter to let loose. One fan said Andy's inability to follow instructions was beyond her, even though she had only 3 simple tasks: get the car, drive to Maine, and lay low until her mother told her it was safe. Another called her one of the most annoying characters she had seen in years, so much so that it was getting harder and harder to keep watching the show. Andy is similar to Josephine from Elves, another Netflix series character who has difficulty following simple instructions. These young girls with the "I want to know and fix this" attitude are truly annoying, and we believe it is reasonable to find them irritating. Next, some fans also aren't happy with young Jane Quayler. Pieces of Her is mainly concerned with determining who Laura Oliver is, and the answer is far stranger and creepier than your typical retired secret agent scenario. Laura's real name is Jane Quayler, the sister of powerful politician Jasper Quayler, and the daughter of super-rich farmer executive Martin Quayler. She had a romantic relationship with terrorist Nick Hart, played by Joe Dempsey and Aaron Jeffrey. pregnancy, and when she became pregnant with Andy, she became involved in a dangerous plot. Jessica Barden plays young Jane in the flashback scenes, but some fans believe that her character doesn't work. They said she seems to have no emotions as she acted, which made it painful to watch, and that the show would have done much better if they had casted someone else. Some felt that the situation wasn't the actor's fault, and thought that Barden was simply miscast for this particular role since she is in fact a very capable actress. Other fans noted that the reason young Jane doesn't really work goes way deeper. They boiled it down to a direction or writing problem, not a casting problem. She looks nothing like Toni Collette, sure, but the way all the flashback scenes are written, viewers don't think that was the actress's choice. It's no small feat to play the younger version of a character played by the hereditary star Toni Collette, but it appears that young Jane doesn't quite cut it for many fans. Now in other news, Toni Collette brings murder victim Kathleen Peterson to life in documentary series. Kathleen Peterson died on December 9, 2001. After falling down a staircase in her Durham, North Carolina home, her husband Michael claimed he was outside at 2:40 a.m. and returned home to find her body at the bottom of the stairs. A jury disagreed, and Peterson was convicted of his wife's murder in 2003. The French documentary series The Staircase, directed by Jean-Xavier de Lestrade, followed by the case's every detail, including Peterson's appeal as it unfolded. Peterson was released in 2017 after being resentenced to time already served. Antonio Campos, a New York-born film director and screenwriter, was on the sidelines. The Staircase, a miniseries based on his obsession with the case, stars Toni Collette as Kathleen Peterson and Colin Firth as her husband Michael, the main man charged with her murder. Collette describes the miniseries as a different and critical way into the story than the documentary. After watching the completed miniseries, she found the story to be inherently fascinating. Collette was blown away even more because he elevated it and created something even bigger, fleshed out, and complex than the documentary. Will Smith will be appearing on My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. Will Smith, who was recently barred from attending the Oscars for the next 10 years, will soon be interviewed by David Letterman. According to reports, the King Richard actor, who recently traveled to India in search of spiritual guidance, will appear on Netflix's My Guest Needs No Introduction on May 20th. The actor, 53, will not be discussing his altercation with the comedian on the stage of the Academy Awards ceremony on March 27th because the show was taped earlier in the year. Smith allegedly taped the interview in January when the two were seen talking in West Hollywood, surrounded by a large film crew. Meanwhile, the Gemini Man star admitted in a statement following the ceremony that he had betrayed the trust of the Academy before resigning from the organization. That's a wrap for this video. As annoying as we find Andy's character, we hope we didn't put you off watching the show since it's actually pretty intriguing. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.